So we had the first presidential debate of the general election last night, and in my opinion, it lived up to the hype. So first and foremost, the question on everybody's mind is, who won? Well, my answer is nobody knows. So let me give you all the polls, and then, I'm sure you guys have your own take on who you think took it. But first of all, we have Drudge. Now, admittedly, Drudge is a right-leaning outlet, if not just a far-right outlet. They have Trump at 80% winning. Then we go to CNBC. They have Trump with 61%. Then we go to Time. They have Trump with 59%. Now, I should add that all of these polls that I just read off here are unscientific. So those are the unscientific snap polls online. Now, with that being said, I'm in the camp of not dismissing them completely. Obviously you don't weigh it as much as an actual scientific poll, but, you don't dismiss it completely because there is something there. Okay, now, next we go to a CNN ORC poll, and if I'm not mistaken, I think this one actually is scientific because CNN, they have, their online poll that they do, and when you do an online poll, that's not scientific for a variety of reasons. But whenever they team up with ORC, it's because they're actually doing scientific polling. So when you go to them, they have Hillary Clinton winning with 62%, which is pretty strong. Now, furthermore, you go to the focus groups that they did on CNN and Fox News, and in both the focus groups, it was almost unanimous for Hillary Clinton. So when you look at all the evidence, you go, I'm guessing this was kind of a close debate, and there's a lot of just perceptual differences that can go into it, which makes somebody who's already predisposed to liking Trump think he won, and makes somebody who's predisposed to already liking Hillary think that she won. And the SecularTalk poll on this, which of course is incredibly unscientific because I just did a Twitter poll, with over 4,000 votes, it was tied at exactly 50-50. That's fucking telling. That's telling. I'm not sure I've ever done a Twitter poll where it hasn't been a blowout in one direction or the other. So again, that gives you a sense of just how close this debate was. Now, my feelings on it were similar to what everybody else is feeling here. So in my opinion, I think Trump won the first half of the debate. Not in, a blowout fashion or a knockout or a technical knockout. No, but he won. I think it was fairly clear that he won, though it wasn't a devastating victory. But in the second half, I think Hillary won. And I think that was closer to a devastating victory, to be honest. Now, again, for me to come out here and talk about this, it's interesting because we did the story yesterday. I told you guys how I thought it would go down and what the three most likely scenarios were. And I was wrong. I honestly thought we were going to have a clear, decisive victory in one direction or the other. I thought the two most likely scenarios were that Hillary Clinton plays the I'm going to be presidential game and lays back and lets Trump pummel her, in which case they think they're winning because they look presidential, but Trump actually just left you in a pool of your own blood with a couple black eyes. They didn't do that, so that didn't happen. The second thing I thought was maybe Hillary will, go after him with PC outrage, and that'll come across weird and bad, and it won't land. That happened at one spot in the debate, but for the overwhelming majority of the debate, she kind of reeled in the PC outrage and didn't go after him on that front, so that didn't happen either. Now, in those two scenarios, I thought Trump would be the likely winner. And then the third scenario I thought, which was also possible, is that Hillary Clinton goes after Trump in the right way and takes no shit from him and goes to work. And in that scenario, I thought Hillary would win. Well, it turns out none of those things happened. It turns out that you actually kind of had this, the energy of the debate and the flow of the debate was back and forth. Trump's landing some gut shots and Trump's landing some punches to the face, and then Hillary comes back, jab, jab, haymaker, fucking knocking him back a little bit. I mean, it was a really close debate. So overall, look, if you forced me, Kyle, you have to sit down and tell me one or the other. You have to say it was either Hillary or it was Trump. I would say by the slimmest of margins, Hillary. Now, if you asked me that halfway through the debate, I would have said, no, it's Trump all the way, it looks like. Because there was one exchange on NAFTA where he left her reeling. I mean, she had no good answers on NAFTA. It was obvious she was bullshitting. It was clear that she's certainly pro-free trade. And TPP also. Trump brought up the statement she made about TPP being gold standard. Oh! Ugh! He was screaming into the microphone, your husband signed NAFTA. Your husband signed NAFTA. So on trade, I mean, she nearly got knocked out on that part. And I think the first half of the debate, he was more relaxed. She was a more standard politician and robotic. And his stream of consciousness way of talking, I think, connects with the audience more than her typical traditional politician way of talking. So if you asked me halfway through the debate, I would have said Trump, no question. But it really switched the more you went on. An interesting thing that I never occurred to me that this would happen, but in hindsight you go, why didn't I see it? I could have predicted that, is Donald Trump, when he's on stage with 5 or more other Republican morons, he comes across much better in that setting. Why? Because he's super good at those short, punchy bursts, those one-liners that get the audience engaged and make them laugh, and, you know, he's quippy, and, you know, it's one of those things where he can just, boom, hit you out of nowhere with something, and then, you know, smarmy assholes like Ted Cruz and robotic bitches like Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush, who's never said an interesting thing in his life, they can't respond. They don't know how to fight back. And you almost look back and go, oh, it would have been weird if Trump didn't beat those jackasses. They were so bad. They were notoriously bad at being politicians and getting people to like them. So he's better in that format when he has to be brief. Because when he's brief, again, it's quick, it's to the point, it's a one-liner, and it lands. Especially on stage with everybody else being super boring. Now, when you put him in a format where it's one-on-one, it gets tougher for him. And it gets tougher for him because, you know, he has to speak a lot more. And when he has to speak a lot more, oftentimes what happens, and this definitely happened in the second half of the debate, is he kind of drones on and on and on and starts rambling, and then at times it just becomes incoherent. And you're like, what? He repeats himself for things that, you know, it's not even like he's hammering home a point because it's an important thing to repeat. He just repeats himself in areas where it makes no sense to repeat himself. You know, again, he just drones on and rambles on and kind of looks silly. Like you're watching and you're going, ooh, even if you're a fan of Trump at that point, you got to go, yeah, dude, what are you doing? What are you saying? Why are you doing this? What's happening? So the second half of the debate, there was a lot more stumbling from Trump, and Hillary was more composed, and most of the areas where she hit him, she made some good points, man. She made some good points about his business record. She made some good points about his temperament. We're going to get to stories on this later. But overall, if I had to judge it, I think Hillary gets the slight victory. Now, in terms of how will this play out in the polls and how will this, you know, make the race unfold from here on out, there, I don't think there's going to be much of an effect. Maybe you'll have the slightest of bounces in the polls for Hillary. But everybody went into this debate in the mainstream media thinking she was going to blow him out anyway. So the fact that she won by a little bit and didn't blow him out, I mean, maybe there's an argument there that might even hurt her in the polls. So overall, the general trends with the polls, you know, and where I think this will go moving forward is not much of a change. So we still have a close race. Okay, and on that alone, I'm sure Hillary's camp is like, fuck! But honestly, with what I thought was the most likely scenario going into the debate, I think it could have been much worse for them. Because like I said, 2 out of the 3 most likely scenarios in my mind was Hillary getting beaten. But turns out it was a close debate, and a lot is riding, I think, on the next 2 debates. They're saying, the numbers aren't in yet, I don't think, but they were saying that maybe over 100 million people watch this debate. Oftentimes, the speculation is the debates don't have much of an effect. I think they're going to have an effect. And in fact, I kind of think they do have a bigger effect even in other elections when people say they don't have an effect. But either way, I think it's still a close race overall, and the next 2 debates are going to be super important, and we're still locked up here.